I love my father, okay? It's a big misconception that there is hate or like animosity towards him. It's none of that.
That was Kelly's own daughter, Joanne Buku Abby Kelly, finally breaking her silence on the man behind bars.
My mind's telling me no, but my body is telling me yes.
Her father just got hit with another courtroom blow, and what she said next about him had the whole internet doing a double take. The daughter finally talks. So, peep this. The man who used to be untouchable in the R&B game, the same dude who had every wedding reception in America two-stepping to Step in the Name of Love, is now sitting down at FCI Butner Medium 1 in North Carolina with a release date that reads like a science fiction movie. December 21st, 2046. That's the day the Bureau of Prisons says Robert Sylvester Kelly will walk back into society, assuming he's still breathing, at the ripe age of about 79 years old. And while the world has moved on to new scandals, his oldest daughter, Joanne Kelly, who the streets know better as Buku Abby, just sat down and gave us the realest answer we've heard in years about how she actually feels about all of this. Now, let me set the table for you real quick, because the messiness here is layered like a wedding cake. Joanne is 27 years old as of early 2026. She's a mother now. She's a working artist trying to build her own lane. And she's been carrying the weight of being the kid of the monster since she was barely old enough to understand what that even meant. Her mom is Andrea Dree Kelly, the same Dree who appeared on Lifetime surviving our Kelly docuseries back in 2019 and helped flip public opinion on her ex-husband for good. Her siblings are Jay and Robert Jr., who have mostly stayed out of the camera's reach. But Joanne has been the one carrying the family's voice into rooms most people don't want to walk into. And in January 2026, she walked into Regina Carter's Airtime podcast and basically dropped a bomb on the narrative everyone had built around her. See, the streets had her painted one way after her mom went on Surviving R. Kelly after Joanne herself dropped that 2019 Instagram statement calling her father a monster. Everybody assumed she hated him, wrote him off. Done. Finished. But that ain't what she said in the chair.
At the end of the day, I went through what I went through, my family went through what they went through, and I'm gonna hold people accountable.
That's not the language of a daughter who's done with her dad. That's the language of a grown woman who's trying to do something most of us never figure out, which is to separate the man from the music, the father from the felon, the love from the accountability, and she kept going.
However, that does not reflect how I feel about that man. I love my dad. I support him as the artist that he is. But as a human being, you have a responsibility to uphold.
Now, let me translate that for the people in the back who only do bumper sticker takes. Joanne is saying she can love the man who raised her in the early years and still tell you with her whole chest that he belongs exactly where he is. That's not a contradiction. That's the trauma calculus a lot of folks never have to do. Because most of us, when our parents do something wild, the wildness is the kind of thing you can recover from with a good therapist and a long phone call. But when your father is convicted of racketeering and sex trafficking involving minors, when he's facing a 30-year federal bid, when his name is permanent incorporated in the worst chapter of modern R&B, you don't get a clean answer. You get the kind of layered grief that Joanne was sitting in. And here's where the sarcasm has to creep in for a second, because the internet has been treating her like she owed everybody a verdict, like she signed up for that role when she was born. Sis didn't pick this. None of these kids picked this. As Joanne herself put it back in 2024, nobody wants to be the child of a father that is out here hurting women and children. Read that line again. Slow. That's a line a 26-year-old mother had to actually say into a microphone about her own daddy. That's not a gossip moment. That's a generational wound out loud. What makes the Airtime sit-down hit so hard is the context. This wasn't her first time on camera. In October 2024, Joanne did a two-part documentary called R. Kelly's Karma, A Daughter's Journey on TVI's streaming network. And in that doc, she made a claim that literally changed the entire family conversation. She alleged for the first time on camera that her own father sexually abused her as a child around age 8 or 9. She described waking up to him touching her, pretending to be asleep out of fear, and being too scared to tell anybody for years. So when she walked into Regina's chair in 2026 and said, "I love my dad," that wasn't naivety. That was somebody who has done the math on her own pain, AH100 read times over, and still chose love as a sentence. And then she pivoted right into accountability. She said her mom, Drya, got what she needed off her chest with Surviving R. Kelly. But the family backlash was real. She used the word bittersweet twice.
However, the backlash of that on my family, just as a unit, it was really hard to go through. So it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet.
Bittersweet is the perfect word for it, because while millions of viewers were standing up applauding the survivors, the people who shared a last name with the accused were getting eaten alive in their DMs, in the grocery store, at school pickup. Joanne said something most people miss when they think about these high-profile family scandals, which is that the family that didn't do the crime still ends up doing the time in their own way. They lose careers, they lose privacy, they lose the ability to walk into a room without their last name walking in first. She also said she's been wanting people to move on for a decade, and it's only now that the public is getting tired enough of the story to let her breathe. There's something almost grimly funny about that. The same audience that demanded answers from a 20-year-old in 2019 is now collectively saying, yeah, we're good. Can we talk about something else? And Joanne is sitting there like, I've been begging y'all to do that since I was old enough to vote. She closed that part of the interview saying her family wears their heart on their sleeve and the stuff they've been through is real, not scripted, not fake. Take it into consideration when you talk about her and hers. That's the foundation. That's where her head is at right now. But to understand why this latest court update has her actually saying something, we have to look at what's been going on with her father behind those federal walls. Because while she's been out here trying to live her life and raise her son, Kelly's legal team has been throwing every Hail Mary in the book. And some of those throws got real wild real fast. The conviction that won't move. Let's talk about why Kelly is doing what he's doing inside that prison. Because once you see the timeline, the panic makes a whole lot of sense. The man's appeals haven't just been losing. They've been getting Boda slammed in slow motion for almost 2 years straight. Start with February 12th, 2025. That's the day a 3-judge panel of the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals dropped an 85-page opinion that affirmed his 2021 racketeering and sex trafficking convictions out of the Eastern District of New York, plus the full 30-year sentence handed down in June 2022. Now, if you've never read an 85-page federal appellate opinion, let me put it in plain English. The judges didn't just deny the appeal. They went line by line through every argument his team put up and basically said, nah, nope. Try again. Also, note, and absolutely not. Insufficient evidence of a Ray Cho enterprise. The court said the proof of a decades-long scheme involving managers, bodyguards, and assistants who help recruit and control victims was overwhelming. Juror bias. Nope. The lower court did a 108-question juror questionnaire and 2 days of in-person questioning of 145 jurors. Ineffective counsel, improper evidence, Mann Act predicate problems, restitution issues, all of it got knocked down. Judge Chin wrote the majority. The court called the evidence extensive and noted Kelly had used his fame for over 25 years to abuse girls and young women. That's the federal appellate court speaking on the record. Not a tweet, not a podcast clip. The real deal. And one judge, Judge Sullivan, only dissented on a tiny restitution issue about brand name herpes medication. That's it. Out of everything the defense argued, that's all that wobbled. The conviction itself concrete. Now, if you remember, the SCOTUS already declined to hear his Chicago appeal back in October 2024, denying his petition for certiorari on the child pornography production and enticement charges. His team had argued the statute of limitations for certain child sex offenses under the 2003 PROTECT Act didn't apply retroactively. The High Court said no with no explanation, which is standard procedure. So, by early 2025, the Chicago side of his case was already buttoned up. Then comes June 23, 2025. The U.S. Supreme Court denied his petition on the New York case, too. His attorneys had argued federal prosecutors stretched the RICO statute by applying the enterprise definition too broadly. The justices issued a one-line denial with zero comment. And just like that, the Supreme Court door slammed shut on both his federal cases. No more direct appeals. The 30-year sentence and the concurrent 19-year stretch from Chicago are locked in. In August 2025, his team threw what reporters called one of his most aggressive moves yet. They filed a motion in the Chicago federal court to disqualify the entire U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Illinois from any further involvement in his case, calling it an extreme remedy themselves. They tied it to the murder plot allegations from earlier that summer and renewed their requests for a new trial and home confinement. Judge Pachold denied the disqualification, finding no exceptional justification or evidence of conflict that would warrant removing the entire office. The new trial and home confinement requests got rejected, too. So, by January 2026, multiple outlets confirmed what everybody had been suspecting. Kelly's official projected release date is December 21st, 2045. He'll be 79. The reporting framed it as the finality of his incarceration. No realistic path to early release. No extraordinary clemency on the horizon. No surprise legal Hail Mary that's going to knock 19 years off the clock. Now into this swirl of denials, the man in prison started talking, and not through interviews, because federal inmates don't get a Joe Budden tour stop. He talked through legal filings, and one of those filings in June 2025 got so wild that prosecutors literally called it fanciful and deeply unserious. His attorney, Beau Brindley, filed a 20-page emergency motion claiming the Bureau of Prisons and DOJ officials were trying to assassinate him to silence his exposure of an illegal conviction plot. And here's the wildest part. The motion was based partly on a sworn affidavit from a guy named Michael Glenn Stein, an Aryan Brotherhood commissioner with terminal cancer who claimed BOP officials recruited him in February 2023 at USP Tucson to murder Kelly in exchange for freedom and an escape. Allegedly, this happened because Kelly's lawyers were exposing damaging information about misconduct. Stein said he was transferred to FCI Butner, where in March 2025 an unnamed suited official reiterated the order. Then a Lieutenant Teague allegedly approached him and recruited another Aryan Brotherhood member named David Keith Harris to kill both Kelly and Stein, possibly via poison food or commissary items. Brindley laid it out at a press conference and said this wild line.
Why does R. Kelly and his team feel like the feds are trying to kill him? Because he's not coming out until what, December 21st, 2045?
That's the question commentators kept asking after the filing dropped. Why does Kelly's team think the feds want him gone? And what does he supposedly know that would make them care?
So according to R. Kelly's legal team in the first filing, and they reiterated in this one, that whole plot to uncover the fact that there were things that were done wrong.
The team's answer, according to that breakdown, was that prosecutors and prison officials had been covering up what they did to convict him in the first place. Allegedly, that included flipping witnesses through informants and using stolen attorney-client communications to manipulate testimony. The motion cited a separate affidavit from a former cellmate named Keshen Motamudi, who claimed he stole legal mail at MCC Chicago and handed it to a prison officer, who then passed it to federal prosecutors. Now, Brindley also alleged that days after the motion was filed, on around June 12th or 13th, 2025, while in solitary, Kelly was given an overdose quantity of sleep or anxiety medication, woke up dizzy, collapsed in a cell, and got ambulanced to Duke University Hospital in Durham, North Carolina for a 2-day stay. The team also claimed he was denied surgery for blood clots and pulled out against medical advice. Prosecutors weren't having it. U.S. Attorney Andrew S. Brothers called the entire narrative fantastic and fanciful, said it made a mockery of the harm suffered by Kelly's victims, and reminded the court that Kelly is a serial and unrepentant child molester. On June 19, 2025, Judge Pachold denied the motion outright, ruling the Chicago court lacked jurisdiction because Kelly is housed in North Carolina. The hearing got canceled before it even started. So, if you're keeping score at home, by mid-2025, every appeal door had been shut. An emergency motion based on a murder plot allegation had been thrown out, and the man was officially looking at sitting until 2045. Which brings us to early 2026, when the situation took yet another weird turn that put his daughter back in everybody's mentions. The solitary drama, and why Joanne stayed quiet. In mid-February 2026, the Kelly story flared back up, and not because of music, not because of a podcast leak, but because of a notebook. Yeah, a notebook. Reporters got word on February 16th that Kelly had been moved to the Special Housing Unit, the SHU, basically administrative isolation at FCI Butner, while the Bureau of Prisons did an internal investigation. The trigger was wild for how small it actually was. During a routine cell search prompted by his cellmate's contraband cell phone, officials found a notebook belonging to Kelly that contained the personal phone number of a recently retired warden. That's it. No call logs, no proof he ever dialed the number, no accusations of bribery, no allegations of rule breaking beyond the simple fact that the digits existed in his handwriting. Brindley explained the context, which was that Kelly had been part of a legitimate inmate mentorship program overseen by that warden, and the warden gave him the number before retirement, so he could keep getting guidance on the program. Brindley described the SHU conditions as inhumane and devastating. Freezing cold cells, total loss of commissary privileges, no outside contact with family, the kind of isolation that breaks people who weren't already cracked. Now, here's where the sarcasm has to come back, because the internet did what the internet does. Within hours, Twitter had Kelly running an underground operation from a cell. Facebook had him bribing wardens. Reddit had 3 different conspiracy theories cooking. The reality, according to Brinley, was a man with a phone number for a mentor who had retired. But sensational sells and Kelly's name has been the gift that keeps giving for engagement farms. About 2 weeks later, by mid-March 2026, the OP completed its review and found nothing, no impropriety, no misconduct, no rule violation that warranted the isolation. Kelly was cleared and returned to general population around March 12th. Brinley publicly stated that the facility was compelled to release him and that he had been held without legitimate cause. No new charges, no disciplinary record stemming from it. The whole thing was in the end a 2-week administrative blip that lit up every blog in the culture for half a news cycle. And during all of this, what did Joanne Kelly do? Pretty much nothing publicly. And that's the part that sometimes gets missed in these stories because everybody's looking for the dramatic family member tweet, the explosive interview, the daughter showing up at the prison gates with a sign. But Joanne had already said her piece. She said it back in October 2024 in the documentary. And she said it again in January 2026 with Regina Carter. Her position hadn't moved. The court update wasn't really an update for her. It was the same machinery of her father's incarceration grinding on, and her relationship to that machinery was already drawn in clear lines. What she did do throughout the stretch was keep talking about the things that have actually shaped her life. In the airtime sit-down, she went deep into mental health. She talked about turning to weed and alcohol as coping mechanisms when the public scrutiny got too heavy after her mom surviving our Kelly appearance. She mentioned multiple suicide attempts. She mentioned psychiatric ward stays. She talked about self-harm tied to the trauma, describing how her mother first noticed cuts on her wrists when they were a target. Now, if you go back to the documentary, that wrist-cutting moment fits into a longer story Joanne told about disclosing the abuse. She said she first told her mother in 2009 at age 10. They filed a police complaint as Jane Doe, but it couldn't be prosecuted because too much time had passed. Her exact words in the doc were that she felt like she said something for nothing. After that disclosure, the children stopped visiting their father. That's the foundation she's been building on top of for the last decade and a half. And the documentary had other moments that hit just as hard. She said her father was my everything and broke down crying over the betrayal. She said for a long time, she didn't even want to believe what happened to her happened because she didn't want to accept that her father, even as a bad person, would do something to her. She said that 1 millisecond of realization changed her whole life and changed who she was and changed the sparkle she had and the light she used to carry. The kind of language that doesn't come from a script that comes from years of trying to find the right words for something that doesn't really have words. She also drew a line about her son. She said if her son asks questions, she'll be as truthful as possible. But she said clear and simple, she will not be taking her son to prison to meet his grandfather. And in the same breath, she said her dad knows exactly why they can't have the relationship they would have liked to have with him. That's the line Joanne has been walking. Love without contact, acknowledgement without access, holding her father accountable while still saying out loud that she loves him as a man. And honestly, that's the part the audience keeps trying to flatten. The internet wants binary. The internet wants either I disown my father or I support my father. Joanne has been telling everyone gently but clearly that the truth lives in the middle. Both can be real, the love can be real, and the accountability can be real, and the not visiting prison can be real, and the healing journey can be real all at the same time. She's also been very clear about her mom, Dree. She pushed back against claims that Dree brainwashed her or her siblings against our Kelly. She said her mom needed to speak out for her own healing, that she's actually happy her mom did it, even though the family backlash was tough. That's an important distinction because for years, rumors were circulating that Dree coached the kids against their father. Joanne shut that down. The kids got there on their own. The kids saw what they saw. The kids lived what they lived. R. Kelly, for his part, has denied the abuse allegations from his daughter through his attorney, who has claimed prior investigations by Illinois DCFS found them unfounded. Reports describe him as very upset by the documentary. The filmmakers didn't seek comment from his side before the release. And as of recent reports, no visits from his daughters or much of his family have happened in nearly a year, which lines up with everything Joanne has been saying. So when we talk about Joanne reacting to her father's latest court update, the most honest framing is that her reaction has been a slow, steady drum beat, not a single fireworks moment. The reaction was to the documentary in 2024. The reaction was the Regina Carter interview in 2026. The reaction is the boundary she keeps with her son. The reaction is her saying, I love my dad, and I'm going to hold people accountable in the same breath. The latest court updates, whether it's the SCOTUS denials or the SU drama or the murder plot motion, don't really change her position. They just keep proving that her position was the right one to hold. The industry around the verdict. Now, let's pull the camera all the way back because Joanne's story is the personal frame, but the bigger picture about her, Kelly involves an entire industry that knew what was up for decades and did the moonwalk around it. And that's where the conversation gets really uncomfortable because it's not just about him anymore. It's about everybody who was in the room with him, everybody who shook his hand at the awards show, everybody who hopped on the remix. Let's start with the obvious one, which is the Aaliyah situation. In 1994, Robert Sylvester Kelly, then 27, secretly married Aaliyah Tan when she was 15 years old. The wedding happened on August 31st, 1994 in Chicago using a fraudulent marriage license that listed Aaliyah's age as 18. Court testimony in his federal trials revealed that Kelly and his associates, including tour manager Demetrius Smith, bribed an Illinois public official with $500 to obtain a fake ID for her. Witnesses described the ceremony as rushed, with Aaliyah looking worried and scared. They wore matching jogging suits. The marriage was annulled in February 1995 after her family stepped in. Now, nobody talks about this part of the story without talking about Damon Demene Dash, the Rockefeller co-founder, who was Aaliyah's boyfriend at the time of her tragic death in 2001. And Dame, especially in recent years, has been one of the loudest voices in the industry on this whole thing. He's done interviews where he basically said the unsaid out loud.
For the Aaliyah situation, were you supposed to be at the video shoot?
I wasn't. What happened was they were doing it in Miami.
That clip is from D&E breaking down a story about Aaliyah's last music video shoot. He was talking about how he'd been there in Miami working on a record, and he had warned Aaliyah about how the director worked. The deeper part of the conversation, though, is what he said about Kelly directly when asked his opinion on Kelly's situation. Dame didn't dodge. He went further.
Yeah, I think he's where he belongs. I mean, I know Aaliyah, so I know what he did.
He explained that Aaliyah had asked him to leave the situation alone completely because she didn't want trouble. He said when Jay-Z was doing videos with Kelly, Aaliyah would tell him, "Girl, what do you want me to do?" and ask him to just stay out of those shots. Dame said he respected her wishes, which is why you don't see pictures of him hanging with Kelly the way you saw other industry folks doing. But the part that really opened eyes was when Dame talked about Jay-Z doing the Best of Both Worlds album with Kelly in 2002 after Aaliyah had passed away. That was when the Rockefeller attention started leaking through every scene.
I just let it go because I couldn't believe he did a project with R. Kelly, knowing that he had my girl.
That's heavy in the chair. Even now, Dame said he didn't take any executive producer credit on that project, didn't put his name on it, and asked that any money he might have been owed go to an Aaliyah Foundation instead. His position was simple. He didn't want to be associated with it. In a different sit-down with Nick Cannon, Dame got even more raw about it. He talked about what he'd do if it had been his daughter.
If that was your daughter, that not sick, he's dead.
And what?
Period. Nobody cares about that. That's my daughter right there.
That's the parental rage talking. And it's the kind of statement that lands differently when you remember Dame's side of the Aaliyah story. He laid out why he never associated with Kelly even when other industry folks were treating him like business, as usual.
Because he with him, I'm with him. You don't see no picture of me with him.
Right.
He with Steve Stout. I don't f with him.
Dame's point in that whole conversation with Nick was that anybody in his circle who knew what Kelly had done to Aaliyah and still chose to do business with him was making a statement. And his statement, regardless of who got mad about it, was no.
But anybody that knows what happened to my girl that f with me should not be f***ing with homie. Period.
That's the industry truth that's been sitting under the table for 25 years. Finally said out loud at full volume. And the reason Dame's testimony matters when we're talking about Joanne's reaction is that it builds the wider room she's standing in. She's not just dealing with her father's incarceration, she's dealing with the entire structure of the music industry. Enabling that allowed her father to thrive in plain sight while everybody who knew. Dame said so himself. He said it had been bothering him for years, and finally talking about it was therapeutic. Now, let's not forget that even from inside the prison, Kelly has been doing what Kelly does. There's a viral clip floating around social media that captures him singing in custody. The audio is short, but the moment is something else. Insert clip.
My mind's telling me no, but my body is telling me yes.
Even in confinement, the man is still leaning on the same playbook he's been using since the 1990s. Like the courtroom losses and the years stretching out in front of him haven't sunk in yet.
I don't want to hurt nobody, but there is something that
The lyrics he's leaning on are from his own old catalog, which is almost too on the nose to be real. The man whose music-shaped weddings, baby showers, slow jams, and graduation playlists across 2 decades is now using those same songs as his mood board behind bars. It's grim. It's surreal. And it's a reminder that the artist and the man aren't actually as separable as people sometimes pretend. So now let's bring it home and answer the question this whole story has been building toward. Are Kelly's daughter reacting to the latest court update is in the strictest sense not a single news event you can point to. There hasn't been a viral Joanne tweet about the SHU isolation. There hasn't been a press conference about the SCOTUS denial. There hasn't been a documentary follow-up reacting line by line to the murder plot motion or the August 2025 disqualification denial. What there has been is a daughter who already gave the world her reaction in real time at multiple stages. And those reactions cover everything the latest updates have thrown at her. Her position on the convictions. She affirmed back in 2024 that she 100% feels he deserves to be in jail. Her position on prison being a fit. She said in the documentary that based on her personal experience, she believes prison is well suited for him. Her position on visiting. She won't be taking her son to prison to meet his grandfather. Her position on the love. She said it on Regina's couch. She loves him. She supports him as the artist he is, but she will hold him accountable as a human being. So, when the news cycle drops a fresh update about R. Kelly, whether it's an appeal denial or a murder plot motion or a notebook in a cell that gets him put in solitary for 2 weeks, Joanne's reaction has already been written. It was written when she was 10 years old telling her mother what happened. It was written in 2019 when she dropped that Instagram statement. It was written in 2024 when she said his name on camera and described the abuse out loud. And it was written in 2026 when she finally let people see the layered truth that the love and accountability were never in opposition for her. They were always going to live together. The audience clamoring for her to react to every court filing wants drama. Joanne gave them dignity instead. And honestly, maybe that's the realest court update of all. Because while her father's legal team is filing 20-page motions about Aryan Brotherhood plots and overdose conspiracies, while prosecutors are calling those filings deeply unserious, while the BOP is investigating notebooks and warden phone numbers, his daughter is over here raising a son, making music, healing in public, and refusing to give the internet the meltdown it keeps asking for. That's the story. That's the reaction. That's what the latest court update looks like when it lands on a young woman who has already done the hardest work of her life. And if you're still watching, you already know which version of the truth feels more like the real one. The shouting from the cell or the steady voice of the daughter who finally gets to choose her own peace. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.